Welcome to Inside the Huddle. This is Coach Jason Pahman. Join me, Coach Sam Adams, and Coach Oxford drops to 3-3 on the season. Still 2-1 in region play. Played a non-region game this past Friday at Lamar Field against Hartsville on homecoming. And, you know, not typically your normal homecoming type game. Hartsville coming in 5-0 on the season and ranked 5th or 6th in the state in Class 6A, and strong team. Watching them on film, you knew their quarterback was prolific and good thrower from the left side, very efficient. Had a big physical receiver in Tidwell, and then the Fletcher brothers gave us nightmares on in special teams and in the backfield and receiving the ball. So we knew Hartsville coming in was going to be a strong team. Oxford, however, first half, we pretty much did what we wanted to do there offensively, other than the first possession. Talk about the week leading up, and then the first half and what transpired there.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, we knew they were going to be a really good team. Had some good weapons on offense in the skill positions to go with a really solid veteran offensive line. Defensively, they had only been giving up 8 points a game, one of the top defenses in the state. And had really good kind of blue collar players on that side. And we had felt like we had a good week of preparation. And then during the game Friday, we kind of went blow for blow with them for the first half. We ended up with close to 300 yards at the half of offense, but we only got 21 points out of it. We had a shot to get it in the end zone the last play of the half, and they kind of broke it up. I think it ended up bouncing off of one of their defenders' knees as we're bringing it to the ground, which was kind of a tough deal. But we were happy with the way that we played offensively in some spurts right there. But we have to try to work to get better field position, because that's part of the reason why we had a lot of yards and not as many points as you would think, because we were starting from the 20 a whole lot. They had a strong kicker that put it in the end zone the majority of the time. We got a bunch of kids that are still working to be able to perform at a higher level on Friday nights. We still have a lot of things out in front of us as far as our goals within region play and seeding for the playoffs. And obviously we didn't play our best game on Friday night in any of the three phases, offense included. But we're hoping to be peaking 4 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, when we get to playoff time, and we hope that we learn from what we maybe didn't do right in the last game, and so that we're a better team this coming Friday against Pell City.
The first half there, Mims very efficient. I mean, I believe he went 21 of 27, 250 yards in that first half. Other than that first possession, we got the punt block, and they get excellent field position there. Offensively, the receivers, Nick Richardson, made one heck of a catch there in the end zone with a defender all over him. Somehow he looks just a little bit around him, was able to wiggle his way, his body, get there and make a beautiful catch there. The throw was right where it needed to be. But defensively, you saw kind of the problems we saw against McAdory with the angles, especially early on. Angles taking on some of the tackles there, overrunning on some of those. And I talked to Coach May Saturday at volleyball tournament, and he said that's something that they work on. You guys work on every day in practice, and he was disappointed from that standpoint, as kind of took a step back, and he said we're going to get back in there this week, and we'll be better come next Friday with that. So I think a lot of that too is like we've talked about before, and we don't want to use this as an excuse, because here we are in the 6th game going into the 7th game of the year, and if you're a freshman at the start of the year, you should be playing like a sophomore right now. So, but some of that youth and inexperience, and when you're young, you have a tendency to stray away from fundamentals quicker than as you're older. So, defensively, I thought Hartsville done a good job keeping us off balance and mixing it up there. And their athleticism and their experience really hurt us as far as on the defensive side. Special teams, like you mentioned, their kicker, my goodness. He hit that long field goal in the first half. I think it was a 42-yarder, but constantly kicking the ball out of the end zone. And so, that provided problems for us on special teams. That first half there, you go in the locker room, and you're, we trailed 28-21 or something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. Yep. But what was the message you talked to the guys at halftime?
Well, just making sure that we maintain focus and not overreact emotionally to things that are going on in the game, which is, difficult to do, especially for younger kind of guys who haven't been in as many of those kind of big games.
Yes.
The younger guys tend to be a little bit more emotional and make it harder to put the last play behind them, regardless of whether it's success or failure. Sometimes, handling success is not always that easy of a thing because you think it's going to repeat itself. But we have to understand as coaches and players that every play has a life of its own.
Yeah.
And whatever happened in the previous play or drive is irrelevant to that play right there at that moment in time.
Right.
So we got to just the word that we used the week before was consistency, and that's really kind of still what we're striving for. Be able to be the same kind of team, play in, play out, drive in, drive out, week in, week out. And, unfortunately, there's only one way to get experience, and that's just to live through it and to learn from it. And being with our guys yesterday, I mean, obviously, they're disappointed, as everybody is.
Yes.
But, I felt like given the situation that we were in, spirits were good. The kids are resilient.
Yes.
So they're just eager now to get back out there this week and kind of get that taste out of our mouth from last week.
We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about what's coming up next here for the Oxford Yellow Jackets on Inside the Huddle. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to In the Huddle. I'm Coach Jason Pahman with Coach Sam Adams, and Coach, we're talking about what's coming up next for the Yellow Jackets. To step back just a second and talk about some of the players of the game against Hartselle. Of course, Mason Mims again improving week to week and really efficient in that first half. Made a couple mistakes there in the second half, but overall, his game, what did you think about his game from a quarterback standpoint?
I thought he played really well. The interception in the second half, we had a missed assignment involved in there that probably
about
led
two players
to
going on the same route.
Correct. Yeah. We had one that he got the wrong signal and was blocking on the pass play, and the guy that he was blocking was the one that ended up picking the ball off. So kind of a fluke thing right there. And then he did threw a ball behind a guy on what we call a late bubble, where we're working kind of a triple option type of play where we pull, run, and throw a bubble out there late. And he just missed the throw behind him. He simply was an inaccurate throw, which is not typically a problem for him, but it definitely did show up on that play.
Was the position of the receiver there at that point, was he in the right position there?
The receiver was on that one. The receiver was in the right spot there, and we just, he just didn't make the best throw that he could make.
And that same guy that picked it off is the one that scooped and scored.
So it's just an unfortunate situation when he had played really consistent throughout the night. He did really well in run and pass and getting the ball where it needed to go. Really understood a lot of their safety rotations because they were not Hartselle was not a simple defense. They gave a lot of different looks, and he was really on top of it for the vast majority of the snaps. And we got really good production across the board on the offensive side at the skill spots, and the offensive line as well, because you can't sit back there and throw it if you're not well protected.
Pass block extremely well.
They did. They did. We spread the ball around to a lot of different guys. A lot of different guys got production. You saw Judd Sire, Jalen Taylor had 5 catches. He's a freshman that we've kind of been expecting to emerge as the year's going on. So hopefully that's a good sign of things to come. We just have to again be able to maintain that level of play for the entirety of a game.
James Tapley is another one that really, to me, was a breakout game for him. And with that, it seemed like he was more involved in the offense this Friday night, and he made some plays. And, man, that was exciting to see because you can see the potential there with him giving you another weapon coming out of the backfield, you know, as a tight end, and that's a huge weapon for us to use.
Huge, yeah. He caught several balls out in the flat, and also had a big third down conversion on what most people call a dig. We call a basic route in the middle of the field, where he caught it on 3rd and 9 or something like that.
Yeah, it was 3rd and long. I couldn't remember what it was. But.
So he's a kid that really, it's important to him to make the improvements week to week, and he's shown that. And sometimes the work that he does really productively in the course of a game is not something that shows up on a stat sheet. Because and that's a hard position to learn, because he has to learn offensive line type skills, he has to learn receiver type skills, and be able to understand a lot of nuances in the game. And that's a really important position for us, and he's excelling right now, playing his best ball.
Nick Richardson had another remarkable game, made some great catches. You had Caleb Wynn that ran the ball efficient, as well as Wilson had some good moments in there too. You saw Wynn emerging a little bit more, and we've seen him grow throughout this season, just a freshman, but man, he's playing above his year right now, and so done a good job running the ball. I do think both teams struggle to run the ball. Now, up the middle seemed to be the place to go for both quarterbacks, because there were some openings there, and running backs too. But you can take a lot of pauses out of a negative game there, and be able to work with this team, because it's just like we talked about off air. This time next year, these guys are going through those experiences that they did on Friday night. How much better are they going to be come next year? Yeah,
and what we're really playing for is, this time next month. And to be a different football team when we're in the early playoffs and the last few games of the regular season and all that. So we're peaking at the right time. A lot of those guys that they were talking about, they're getting a lot of playing time as young players. I mean, you're seeing marked improvement. Caleb Wynn played a lot better at the running back spot with the ball in his hand this week than he did last week. He ended up with 90-something rushing yards the other night, and we saw him really hit it downhill really well a few times, and we're just hoping that these things continue to pay off as we move forward in the season.
Hartsville was a non-region game. We jumped back into the region, which is very don't really know which way it's going to go right now. Clay Chalfant looks to be the front runner, but very important game for the Yellow Jackets this Friday night at Pell City. And coaches, I mean, as long as I can remember, this has been a rivalry game where both students, both schools are fired up about this game. And so got a lot of so-called distractions from that standpoint, which is good for this game. But you get back in the region, got to get back focused as far as region goes, and go up there and take care of business Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now you got 3 teams in the region that are kind of sitting with similar records with us, Pinson, and Centerpoint. So every one of these region games becomes more important as we move forward. Everybody's still kind of fighting it out for the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seed for that matter. So there's a lot of ways this thing can shake out, and this is a really important game.
Another positive. Not too many injuries from what I could see from Friday night, so that's a good thing. Got another week getting some guys back and getting better. So good luck this Friday night against Pell City. If you're looking for a good game to go to, make sure you go up the road right up Interstate 20 to Pell City and watch the Yellow Jackets get back in region play and face off at Pell City. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Coach Wes Brooks from the Oxford girls side of football, and we'll have him coming up next here on In the Huddle. Welcome back to In the Huddle. I'm Coach Jason Pahman, and join me now is Coach Wes Brooks of the Oxford Yellow Jackets varsity flag football team. And Coach, welcome to In the Huddle. And you've got several players there with you. I believe you've got Reagan White, Sawyer Brooks, Zay and Chasey Whitfield, Gabby Lindsay, and Nike Darling. Coach, let's start off with talking about the flag football and talk about how it came about to Oxford and some of the specifics of flag football that people may not know about.
Yes, sir. So in 2021, in the month of May, the AHSA sent out a social media publication that announced that they were going to sanction flag football in our state. So immediately my wife called me and she said, hey, this is an opportunity to coach your girls. You're never going to be able to coach them in a sport. They were not, when they grew up, they were not interested in softball or anything like that. So, you know me, I'm a football, baseball, basketball guy. So they just weren't interested in that sport. And my wife also played flag football in college, and she was Female Athlete of the Year in like 1999, I think, or so. So she was really fired up about it. And so I sent some emails to our athletic director and our director of human resources, and she played professional football. And so then August come around, and we had a interest level meeting. And we had 67 girls to show up in August of 2021.
Wow.
And so we had to have tryouts. And so we ended up picking 31 girls on the team. And in our first year, we had a rough start. We actually thought we were a little bit better than what we were. The biggest challenge was getting the girls getting the girls from band, cheerleading, basketball, volleyball, and all those sports, and trying to find time to practice to be able to get the best athletes on the field. Ended up having a good year towards the end. We got hot. We finished in the semifinals. Hewitt Trussville beat us in the semifinals, and they went on to win the state championship at the Super 7 a couple of weeks later. And then this year, it kind of caught some interest level from some other athletes. And I feel like we got 95% of our best female athletes on the team this year. And some of the specifics of flag football, it's 7-on-7, and 7 players on offense, 7 on defense. The center, everybody can go out for a pass. And everything else, you can run the ball, you can throw the ball. We actually punt. The only thing that we don't do that regular football does is kick off and kick off return. But we do punts and we do punt return. When the ball hits the ground, it's dead right there. There's no fumbles. I would say we're probably 50% run, 50% pass. We have 3 quarterbacks, sometimes even 4 quarterbacks when we have our Wildcat package with Zay at quarterback. Gabby Lindsay is probably our biggest arm. She's pretty much our thrower. She can run too, but so we got a package for her. Reagan White is pretty much our scat back. We have a run package for her. She can also throw it as well. And then our 8th grade quarterback, Charlie Trotter, she's really young, but she's really, really good. So she'll end up being our quarterback down the road. And then we've got a couple of packages where Sawyer, Brooks, and Zayana Whitfield is our quarterback as well. When we just need like a short yardage, 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, first down, we just do like a little triple option read with those girls. And it has been really, really fun. And the thing that I have noticed is, number one, you treat them just like you do boys on the field.
Right.
When they're on the field, whether it's practice or game, you treat them all the same. We're 10-1 on the year, and we got Oak Mountain and Hoover tomorrow, and then we got Smith Station coming to us on Thursday, and then we'll go to Spain Park and Best next week. We'll have fall break, and then we'll finish off our area play the week after fall break, and the playoffs will start.
Yes, sir. And you covered a lot right there and talked a little bit about the upcoming schedule. Let's go back to Thursday night playing against Anniston. And, much talked about in the last several years about the boys trying to renew that matchup on the varsity football side. And very good to see that Oxford and Anniston were able to play in the flag football game. And, of course, that being my first game to ever attend the flag football at Oxford, I was very impressed at the game, the structure. Both teams were efficient. The girls knew what was going on. You were barking out stuff that I hear on the sidelines on Fridays, and I'm thinking, how in the world do they know this formation, that formation? And so hats off to you and your coaching staff there for getting these girls prepared. And it's a big acknowledgement for these girls too, that they can show the boys that, hey, we can do this too, and they did so, and it was very impressive.
So we played Anniston 3 weeks ago at Albertville. That was our first area series, and it was Albertville and Anniston's first ever game, and obviously it's our second year. So we're running through some of the same states that we went into last year, and I will say we do have an advantage. Anytime there's something.
All right, we lost Coach Brooks. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll try to get him back here shortly on In the Huddle. Welcome back in the Huddle. We got Coach Wes Brooks from the Oxford Varsity Flag Football team back online with us. And Coach, tell us what you were talking about when we went to break.
All right, so about 3 weeks ago, we played our first area game with Anniston and Albertville at Albertville. It was their first games, and it was obviously our second year, so they were running into some formation problems and some of the rules that we didn't know a year ago, and obviously it's an advantage for us because anytime, whether it's bowling or fishing or golf or flag football, our school system, we try to be the pioneer trailblazers of whatever new is out there so that we don't get on the back end of things. So we really had an advantage then. And I'll tell you what, Anniston, with the female athletes that they got, you give them a couple years in this flag football thing and they'll figure it out and they'll be one of the top teams in the state as well. I just know Coach Bullock and Coach Young are very passionate about female sports, and Coach Young was a really good flag football intramural player at JSU as well. So I anticipate this rivalry and who knows, maybe this rivalry will pick back up in flag football and it'll continue on throughout the rest of the sports.
Coach, talk about some of the players you got there with you. First of all, the quarterback, Gabby Lindsay, from what I saw, she was able to manage the offense, made excellent reads on the offense, found the open receivers, put the ball on the money, and just she even had to tuck it down and run one time and got close to a first down, I believe, on that play. But talk about these girls. You also got Sawyer Brooks and Zaya and Chasey Whitfield, Nike Darling and Reagan White. Talk about them and their role on the team.
Well, obviously it starts with quarterback center exchange. We put a big point of emphasis on that. And then the girls up front, giving her max protection, because when you give Gabby Lindsay some time to throw the football, and the athletes that we've got on the routes, running the routes, if you give her time, we're going to get a completion. We've got 3 or 4 girls that can run like 4.8 to 5.1 40-yard dashes.
Yes.
And all she needs is time. And you saw her the other night. She can throw it 50 yards easy.
Yeah, I told you.
It's a 30-yard completion, but we're on the right hash, and she's throwing a deep ball all the way on the left sideline. So she hits Zay. That's one of our main routes, is hitting Zay on the left hash, kind of getting her by herself until the other team starts to double team her. Right. And then obviously our run game starts to open up, and we got Ashlyn Burns and Chauncey Whitfield and Reagan White also on those routes, as well as some other girls too. We put in a few mesh routes, a few crossing routes yesterday. Sawyer Brooks will be involved in that. Some other girls, Peyton Brooks will be involved in that. Shania Calloway, she's one of the faster girls in the school.
Yes.
And Natasha Knox as well. So we've got to stretch the field vertical, and we run the football horizontal, east and west. We got some quick hitters up the middle, so we try to attack each and every zone. And then we obviously got a package for Reagan when she comes in. We got some quick hitting routes, but we also got our triple option stuff with her, our quarterback sweep, our jet sweeps, and some intermediate routes with her as far as the deep ball. She can throw it deep, but she's got more of a run pass option when we roll her out to the right and left.
We also saw a reverse mixed in there too with Burns carrying that, or Reagan, one of the two, I can't remember, but very efficient on offense. There's a lot of different plays that you guys run, and I know that's something that you guys work on in practice day in and day out. And what I found out coaching girls is their attention span seems to be better than the boys as far as picking things up, picking up things new and applying it. Have you learned that to be the case as well, since you know, obviously
Yes,
coaching baseball for a long time?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. Like, I've never coached a sport when it's been that player's first time in that sport. Mm-hmm. And I can just imagine coaching, a baseball player at 5 years old. He's going to be a sponge as far as gathering all that information because he just doesn't know. And I think that's probably the biggest, you just think about a female growing up their entire life watching a football game.
Right.
Thinking, man, I really would like to play, but they've never been able to play.
Yes.
Now they see all the guys in the spotlight, and then they want to be that person to have success in that moment. So they're like sponges as well. They're like they're grasping for information. And when we run like Tampa 2 on our defense, or when we run cover 2 or roll coverage or cover 3 or cover 1, those are NFL terms that are used on Sunday.
Yes.
Combo and the running back. Those are terms that are used in NFL on Sunday, and the girls will come back the next day and like, hey coach, Alabama ran that reverse or the jet sweep, or they lost containment. Like just the terminology that they're coming up with, and they're paying attention a lot more too. And sometimes I'll hear them in conversation because some of them are cheerleaders. They're right behind the sideline on Friday night.
Yeah.
And they'll say, Coach, I bet sideline will work, or I bet, this route will work, or that route will work against that defense. So they're becoming educated, and that's part of it. Just like regular football, stance, alignment, assignment, and technique.
Right.
We start with their stance. We start with their first step. If their first step was good, their second step's going to be good. If they're lined up on defense, just their alignment, that's half the battle. And then obviously a tough task to teach is pulling that flag.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you got to teach it like you do in regular football. Is the first step in form tackling. There is an art to grabbing that flag, and you can see our girls did a really good job. I mean, it's really tough. I don't know how many points we've given up this year, but we've not given up many, and it's our two outside linebackers are just all over the field. They
are, and I noticed that Thursday night. I had, going back to your point about girls growing up watching football want to play, I had Ashley Jackson, that, basketball alum there at Oxford, and I asked her, I said, if they had flag football when you were in high school, would you have played? And she said, absolutely, I wish I could. And so that I'm glad that this is going on. And now going to defense, you're right. It's an art to be able to pull that flag. You can't just run up and take a wrong angle and reach out and try to pull that flag, because the offensive player, of course, they're going to be a skilled player, a skilled athlete, be able to move, quick hips, quick cuts. And we got a highlight of Reagan making an excellent tackle in the backfield for a loss, pulling the flag, and the form and the technique that she used there. I mean, that highlight film could be given to any school that's looking to incorporate flag football into their sports programs, and showing them how that is to be done. And she did it perfectly there, and I know that's something that you guys work on tremendously on defense. Talk a little bit about your defensive players since we went over the offense real quick. Well, we got a couple minutes left.
All right, so it starts up front. Our rushers are Shania Callaway, Ashlyn Burns, Nike Darling, and Michaela Howell. They're just being a pest to that quarterback. They might not get many sacks, but it just makes them make bad throws or bad reads or whatever. Mike linebacker, Chelsea Whitfield, and Mia Munoz. They're kind of first-year players, and you really can't mess up. You just be an athlete there in the middle. Anything that comes across your face, or if you see them hand the ball off, you just get downhill in both directions. Our veteran players are on the outside, which I thought was a good decision by Coach Roan. by doing that, and because most of your plays are ran either outside to the right or left or thrown outside the right or left. So we got our best flag pullers, I guess you could say our best tacklers, on the outside, in the outside linebacker area. Then we got corners, Bella Reeves, Zay Whitfield, we got Gooden as another corner, as another option there. We got some young girls working at corner. And then Peyton Brooks is our safety. Michaela Howell is a safety. Several other girls that can bump back and play safety as well. We got cover one, which is like a man free. We got cover two, which is our corner squat, and they got containment.
Yes.
We got two safeties. We got our 1-5-1 cover three look. We try to disguise it. We try to run three bluff. And then we got our cover seven, which I learned from Sam Graham, which he learned from West Alabama, is on the goal line. It gives the appearance of man-to-man. We line up on the 3 receiver and guard number 2 receiver. We line up on the 2 receiver and guard number 1. Not trying to give up my secrets, but there's just really nothing you can throw on the goal line against that if we run it, if we execute it. And I'll be honest with you, Jason, so far these girls have executed much more than my expectation going into the year. Their execution in the first couple of games of the year was just flawless. And hats off to the girls. Hats off to our managers and Coach Reagans for keeping up with our stats. We have a little competition as to where whoever pulls the most flags gets to eat a steak at the local steakhouse here. We really don't try to put a point of emphasis on offense as far as goals, because we just try to take what's given to us. So, the other night they were double teaming Zay, so our other receivers were open. And, just like, in basketball, if you run a triangle and 2, your other players have to step up, and which gives you advantage, because now you got 4 on 3. So, and then anytime I get a chance to use a volleyball or cheerleading, a basketball or a softball term in coaching, I try to do that because the girls can understand that and relate that a little bit better.
Coach, I definitely appreciate you coming on today, and we're going to get you guys on Friday night Pigskin Roundup, and I want you to invite all the girls that you've got there with you and maybe bring a few more on a Friday night for Pigskin Roundup. Big week this week. You got Hoover and Oak Mountain coming up tomorrow night, and then Smith Station at home on Thursday. Good luck this week in your games, Coach. Congratulations on winning the area championship, and hopefully you got dried off from that water bath you got last Thursday night.
Yes, sir. All our girls are going to give a go big O on 3.
All right, sounds good.
1, 2, 3.
Go big O!
All right, good job, girls. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Keep up the hard work, and we'll see y'all here on Friday night on Pigskin Roundup here in the upcoming weeks. That's Coach Wes Brooks for Oxford flag football. Very exciting game. If you've got the opportunity to go out and catch one of these, please do so. It'll be worth your time, I promise you. Good entertainment there. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have Coach Jonathan Miller from the Sax Wildcats coming up on In the Huddle here shortly. Welcome back to In the Huddle. I'm Coach Jason Pahman. Now join me via Zoom is Coach Jonathan Miller of the Sax Wildcats. The Sax Wildcats 4-2 on the season, 2-1 in region play, 4-0 at home and 0-2 on the road. And Coach, big win Friday night against BB Comer. A very tough game for non-region play, and BB Comer coming in ranked number 6 in the state in 2A, I believe, or 1A, I think it is. But a tough team, and they played some tough games. Beat Vincent by 1 point. I think they scored with 18 seconds to go in their week before last. So coming in, you knew BB Comer was going to be a very challenging opponent for a non-region game.
Yeah, there's no doubt. They got a good football team, a lot of weapons in their skills positions, and they got a big offensive, defensive line. So, we knew it was going to be a big challenge coming into the game, and fortunately, we played pretty well defensively and did enough offensively. We were little too sloppy on that side of the ball. We had three or four turnovers and a couple bad snaps. So we got to clean things up on the offensive side, but defensively, I was proud of our effort.
Kind of been an up and down type of season so far. After coming off the Big Ten win season last year, lost some talented athletes, but this year's team, you start off the year with a win against Ohatchee, big game there, a rivalry type game. Used to be in the region and very successful in that game. Then dropped to Sylvania, blowout Beulah, and then lose to a good Davil team. Same thing against Childersburg, very successful there, and then the shutout against B.B. Comer. So talk about this season and the up and downs that you've had to deal with this team to this point.
Well, we've lost to a couple teams they're good football teams. They're probably going to be multi-round playoff teams. So we have been up and down. And part of that is we had to replace all of our skill position players from last year. So guys are we had some guys come back with some experience, but they're having to carry a little bit of a heavier load this year, and that's new for them. So we probably played our worst game of the year at Sylvania. I had a lot of opportunities in that game after we settled down a little bit, and we just couldn't connect. We just couldn't make that play to break through, and got inside the red zone a couple times without points, and that kind of started our turnaround defensively. Now, the Dadeville game score is a little bit misleading. It was 13-10, fourth quarter. We drive down, miss a field goal to tie the game. We stop them, get the ball back, and the first play, we fumble, and they return it for a touchdown. So that game, really, with about 6 or 7 minutes to go, it's 13-10, and we have the ball with the possibility to tie or win. So, we played our tails off in that game. Dadeville, we probably won't play a team as talented as Dadeville from top to bottom with the amount of depth that they had. They're a really talented team. So,
yes,
we've played well for the most part outside of that Sylvania game, and but we've been sloppy at times too offensively. So we got to continue to clean that up and get better there, and hopefully we'll do that down the stretch.
All right, Coach, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the defense and the job that they've done this year. We'll also talk about some offensive players, and then we'll talk about what's coming up next for the Sachs Wildcats here on In the Huddle with Coach Jason Pahman. Be back shortly. Welcome back to In the Huddle. I'm Coach Jason Pahman. Now join me is Coach Jonathan Miller. And Coach, before the break, we were talking about the season. Now let's talk about this defense. Very effective defense. Fourth time in 6 games that you guys pitched a shutout, and only averaging 8.5 points a game. Talk about that defense and some of those guys on that defense and your stars there.
Well, I think the first thing that stands out to me defensively is, we've got a lot of seniors on that side of the ball. I think we got 7 or 8 senior starters, and they're playing really well right now. We, got off to a little rocky start. Ohatchee, we were all right. At Sylvania, we, had some issues there in the first half of that ball game, and we've kind of cleaned that up. And our guys have really started to play well on that side of the ball. Some of the guys that have stood out for us, Keandre Johnson is probably playing his best football. He's a senior. He's a very experienced player. He's played a lot of football for us on that side, and he's leading our team in tackles. Owen Petty's another linebacker that's done a great job for us. Up front, Raymond Pearson and J.J. Waters, 2 seniors that play on the D-line that have had great years. Raymond Pearson probably is our best football player from top to bottom. And in the secondary, those guys are coming on. Trent Hopkins at safety, and D. Elston, Tay Elston, and those guys have gotten better as the season's gone on. And if we can continue to grow on that side of the ball, we can finish strong this season.
Offensively, quarterback Gavin Doss, is having a good year. Trent Hopkins at wide receiver, and then Dorian Walker running back, and you mentioned the linebacker that's come in and run the ball some too on offense. Talk about those guys on offense, and first talk about that offensive line, because nothing gets started unless those guys up front do their job.
Yeah, and that's where it starts for us. We've got 3 seniors up front: our center Tyreek Foster, J.J. Waters, and Raymond Pearson. Those are guys that started for us on that semifinal team last year. So they've got a ton of experience, and those guys have played well. Coming in the season, we wanted that to be the strength, or we're hoping that would be the strength of our team. And so far it has been on the offensive side. So, again, looking for continued growth there. We're starting a freshman at right guard, and Jaquay Judkins, and another junior at right tackle, Elijah Garrett. So those guys have been steady for us. At the skill spots, again, we've had to replace a lot. Gavin Dawson's come in and done a nice job at quarterback. Dorian Walker and Keandre Johnston are running the football effectively for us. And at the wide receiver spots, Trent Hopkins, Jakari Streeter have made a lot of big catches for us so far. And, that's really the one side of the ball that we need to clean up. We've, like the other night, we had a couple bad snaps. We had 3 or 4 turnovers. And, to be the team that we want to be, we're going to have to clean up on that side of the ball.
Coach, coming up next, you jump back into region play this week, and boy, do you ever, because jump back into a very talented, undefeated 5-0 Randolph County team, and you got to go on the road where the road hasn't been so kind to the Wildcats this season. Talk about your week of preparation this week and what your message is to them as you get prepared to go on this tough region game.
But, the thing that stands out, when you look at them on film is just their size. They've got, a lot of beef on the O-line, big running backs. So it's going to be a challenge. But, if we just continue to grow and take it one day at a time and continue to get better on both sides of the ball, we can finish strong. But, I guess at this point of the season, it's the teams that get better each day, or the teams just going to be there in the end. So, that's the message to our guys. We got to come out here and just take it one day at a time and try to get better every day we step on that practice field, and continue to grow as a team, and try to have a strong finish to the season.
Coach, good luck this Friday night against Randolph County and getting back in region play, and then the rest of the way I think you got Weaver, and then a much anticipated game against Welborn on down the road. Good luck this Friday night to the Sacs Wildcats, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
That's Coach Jonathan Miller with the Sacs Wildcats, and that'll do it for this week's edition of In the Huddle here on TV 24. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for joining us on In the Huddle this week's edition. We'd like to thank Green Oil and Dr. Pepper for being our sponsors on this show. Stay tuned next week, same time, same place, for more coaches' interviews on In the Huddle with Coach Jason Pahman. Thank you.